the queen of mid-morning, Dana Perino, filling in for the king of late night, Greg Gutfeld, who's out recovering from being Greg Gutfeld. But I've come a long way since my days as a humble prison guard. Yes. You might not have known that. So tonight, I'd like to address all the moms and dads out there, or anyone who hopes to be one someday. So your children, and Percy, they're counting on you. Isn't he? I mean, he's so cute. American kids are in real trouble, and I'm not just talking about Hunter Biden. And it's something parents need to deal with ASAP. And it's not that they're staying up late to watch the Gutfeld show, although that could stunt their growth. Look at Greg. A lot of people don't realize he was 6'3" when he started this show. But it's our schools. American schools are failing us. They're failing our kids, our families, and our nation. In a recent interview on my show, America's Newsroom, that's weekdays at 9 to 10, or 11, I shortchanged myself an hour. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, whose own story personifies what good education can do, called it a national humiliation. And for once, she wasn't talking about Kilme's haircut. What she meant was that if we keep going as we are, the great American experiment could fail. Historically, America's education system has been one of the shining lights of our country. For over 150 years, people would crawl over glass to get their kids into American schools. And it continues, except today they're crawling through the gaps in the border wall. So is that still the case? Let's look at the national report card. Reading and math are down for 8th graders 4% and 9% respectively. The numbers for history and science, they are just as bad. Add that to chronic absenteeism, which is defined as missing 10% of school or more. In Baltimore, for example, chronic absenteeism was at 23% in 2016, 36% in 2020. Last year, it was 58%. 58%, or as Baltimore teachers call it, almost half. 58%, I mean, Harold Ford has a better attendance record than that. Same with Joe Biden, and everyone's noticed it. Mr. President.
Okay, everybody, we need to go back.
And so, as the system deteriorates, the Dems do what they do best. They print money. It's like a bootleg Monopoly game. Now when you pass go and collect $200, it's only worth $150. They're now actually demanding free community college. So free college when kids aren't even showing up for grammar school. And then after community college, we're supposed to pay the student loans of all these kids who majored in advanced activism. They're the ones blocking workers on roads, ordering $18 lattes twice a day, and then they complain they can't make a decent wage in today's job market. So parents, I'm talking to you now. This has to stop. We can't afford it monetarily and competitively. How are our kids going to compete with a rising China and India in the future? And please don't say by sitting next to them while taking the test. How is the American experiment going to compete with a militaristic and unstable Russia? Right here on our own doorstep in Latin America, these hostile nations are making tremendous inroads. They're coming, folks. And kids who are told there's 55 genders but can't name the 50 states, that's not going to cut it. So what should we do? First, stop the bleeding. Get your kids behind into that school, and I'm sorry for the strong language. Get her homework done. And if that school is not teaching what your child needs, demand it. Run for a local school board. Demand standards. The left can't keep substituting wokeism and lowered standards for progress, and also demand school choice. There are school choice programs sweeping the nation. The American people will do what they can to educate their children, but they need help. And Biden isn't giving it. Remember, he once said that this is the smartest person he knows. But schools, that's a local issue. If we fight, we can do this without Washington, without Dr. Jill and her buddy, Randy.
This arena is the multicultural, multi-ethnic democracy we need.
Why are they making this much money instead of plowing it into lowering
And on the right, you can't just say abolish the Department of Education and then get into office and realize that's not going to happen. And then throw up your hands and blame everything on the teachers union, as bad as they are. Independence, they don't want the Department of Education abolished. They want education to work better. And without independence, Republicans can't win. So parents, it's time to get tough. This may literally be the most important issue for our nation's future. And like my ex-husband, Eminem, once said, success is our only option. So let's welcome tonight's guest. Like a toddler in church, he'll leave you rolling in the aisles, comedian Jeff Dye. He's our favorite VP after the oil producer that killed all those seagulls, co-founder of Base Politics, Brad Polumbo. She's like Taco Bell. She's great at first, but has the potential to kill you in your sleep. Fox News contributor, Timpf. And he retired from the ring, but he'll still wrestle anyone that steals his bling. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyrus. Tyrus, can I start with you?
It's your show.
Does that get bleeped? Just kidding. Tyrus, you're a dad.
Yes.
You care about education. You're a teacher.
Yes.
What are we right here?
You are 1,000% right, and unfortunately, it's our fault. We stopped paying attention to the kids. Everyone wants to blame the kids. It's the tablets. It's the technology. They're not focused. They're doing that, but the parents are doing that. Like, who allows the children to do these things? We used to be partners with our teachers. And yes, we see on the media the extreme version of a lot of the school teachers. And it used to be like one or two in every school, there was that one teacher, or maybe two. Now, you define the normal teacher, they're the weird ones. The one that wears the bow tie and wants to teach science is the one that everyone's going, I don't know about that guy. So we have to, in some cases, parents, we have to start sacrificing. 50% of my kids, that means half, right? They're homeschooled, and the other two are in private school. So there's no more public school for my kids, and there's a lot of sacrifices. But we need to start looking at getting back to the communities, getting together with our neighbors. Maybe we homeschool our neighborhood, and parents all work together and take turns to get back to math, English, history, accurate, best that covers those things. Algebra is not a gender; it's math. So we need to get back to those things, and it's going to take, because if the kids aren't there, they can't make their money, they can't get their subsidies. So maybe we just don't do business with them anymore, and we start doing a grassroots education system. Americans can do it. We just need to pull together. Bring grandmas back.
I love the grandmas. Jeff, who do you think is to blame for this downfall?
I don't know who to blame. Everyone's blaming these kids, like Tyrus said. Like, oh, they're not showing up for school. And over 56% of the students aren't showing up for school in Baltimore. It's like, yeah. Have you seen schools lately? The dude teachers are showing up with prosthetic boobs. The women teachers are talking about teaching them sex stuff. Everything's gay. Everything white is racist. I commend these kids for not showing up. Smart kids.
Smart kids. Wait, they might have potential. Brad, at the recent Republican debate just last week, so many of the candidates said they would just eliminate the Department of Education, but a lot of people have said that for a long time. And then they get there and realize that that's not going to happen. So that can't be the only solution.
No, I mean, I support that in theory, too, but you've got to have more practical solutions. And I'm really glad you brought up school choice, because that's the most obvious one. We can't just keep throwing money at the system. I mean, we spend $15,000 per student. It's 30% more than other developed countries. Clearly, just shoveling more money, which is what Democrats always say, is not going to fix our education crisis. But actually giving parents choice, like maybe the money follows the student and goes to the school that best fits that kid's needs, not just the public school by default. Maybe it's a public school, but maybe it's a private school. Maybe it's a charter school.
Maybe it's Tyrus's house.
Maybe it's his neighborhood.
Stories. I can fit at least 100 in there.
And you could take them over to see all the animals.
Listen, back in the day in a little house on the prairie, it was like there was like 50 kids stuck in a box with one teacher, and no one lifted their head up. They all did the work, so it can be done.
Brad has a good point. There's actually, it's not that we're not spending enough money on kids, or maybe we are, but we're spending it wrong. But in some of these school districts, the more money that you give them, the scores are still as bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that school choice, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad we talked about that, because the problem with looking for a solution to this is there's no one-size-fits-all solution, because I don't have kids, but from my understanding, they are people. So
At times.
and people are different. So different things, what might work for one kid might not work for another kid. So we really have to acknowledge that reality. And also, we can't be surprised, because even this is, better than it was a few years ago when school was illegal. In the pandemic, the education was no. So, that's truly insane. And I think that there's been all this learning loss that we kind of found out happened, and then kind of just went, man, that's a bummer. And then nothing happened to try to address that. That was just having kids stay at home is going to impact them and has impacted them. So what are we going to do to try to solve that? Should at least kind of try. I don't know. Is that crazy?
I also did some homework, and sure, spelling and math is down, but according to my measurements, podcast listening is up 98 points. OnlyFans is up 99 points. And kids transitioning is up 100%.
That's
higher than 3 years ago.
That's nearly complete.
Yeah, so what's everyone paranoid about? This is fine.
Indeed. Well, let's keep this going. Up next, he used accounts that were bogus before he became the POTUS. Mounts that Joe used fake email accounts. The National Archives has acknowledged the existence of nearly 5,400 emails, electronic records, and documents that potentially show Joe Biden using pseudonyms when he was vice president. So, man, those were the days when he was Veep. Unlike now, he was still warm to the touch back then. That's a hard one for me to say, but it actually is true. So the revelation comes after the Southeastern Legal Foundation filed a Freedom of Information request for emails connected to aliases allegedly used by Biden. Names like Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, and J.R. Beware. But maybe he was just using name suggestions that came with the free AOL CD-ROM he got in the mail. Kat will explain later. And now the foundation is suing for the public release of those records, claiming that Biden used the fake names to covertly share government info and discuss foreign business with his son Hunter and others, as well as recipes for making bean dip and crack. But yes, just like aliens in Roswell or whatever Jesse is using to glue his wig on, the people, they have a right to know. I wonder what Joe thinks about all this.
No, come on, man. These are, the emails are of a personal nature. Just talking about yoga class, things like that. Look, here's a typical one right here. Hey, Hillary. Or should I say, Diane Reynolds. It's Robert L. Peters. I love these nicknames we use for each other just for fun. What do you think about the new Lululemon wrap waist leggings? Are they as buttery soft as they look in the catalog? See you in class. Signed, Carlos Danger. Just kidding. That guy's a perv.
So nice of him to drop in and help us out. Jeff, they want me to ask you, is Jeff Dye your real name?
It's a stage name.
What's your real name?
50 Cent.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So when you find out that the vice president at the time was emailing his son government business, but from a private email account with a fake name, and it was all about Ukraine, what comes to mind?
Well, I know that the most exciting, the real story is not always exciting as what we could maybe think and suggest and hope for. But it's just he's old, and he's forgetting his logins. He's got a lot of different names. He's got to keep going, I don't know anymore. My friend forgets his Netflix password. He deletes his whole account. He's got to start fresh, That's what's happening here, I think.
He's probably paying for Netflix like 17 times.
Yeah, that's what Biden's got 75 Netflix accounts, I bet. Can't get in.
What's interesting is this, so it's called a Freedom of Information Act request. And Brad, this group, the Southeastern Legal Foundation, they filed it over a year ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now the archives puts this out there. Now, in a way, if you're the Biden team, you think, well, you should have just gotten it out earlier. But also, why would it take a year?
They always slow walk those requests. But look, I'm just kind of honestly surprised Biden knows how to use email. I mean, there are senators and congresspeople running this country who literally do not know how to send an email. They're 20-somethings, do all their emails for them, and they still don't know the difference between Facebook and Twitter and TikTok, even though they're going to try to write the rules for them and regulate them. But look, I think the Biden thing is so suspicious. Why do you have aliases or fake accounts if you're not doing anything corrupt, if you're not involved in anything sketchy? Like, it's never crossed my mind that I should make fake email accounts to email my business associates and family members. Like, that's not a normal thing to do.
And just ethically, Kat, would it never have crossed our mind that that was wrong?
Right. And I think that a lot has been said about the corruption and the influence peddling and how that's bad. And I agree with all of that. But I also am questioning whether I could possibly be actually understanding this, because he also seems to have been very, very stupid about it. Because it says he used these fake names in the business dealings that he was, quote, known to use in the White House during this time. So he was using the same fake names that he used in the White House as he was using to do business that he wasn't supposed to be doing because of his job in the White House. I thought the whole point of a fake name was nobody was supposed to know that was you. Am I wrong? I feel like that's like getting a burner phone to plan a murder. And then when the cops interview about it, you're like, hey, man, any further questions, call me on this number. Right? Everybody knows you don't take your mistress and your wife to the same restaurant. And that's what he's doing.
I said, Tyrus, does everyone know that?
Well, unless your mistress works at the restaurant, then it gets weird.
I mean, there might be only one restaurant in
Not
town.
now, I'm with my family. No, that would be horrible. Oh, my God. I spit at that idea. Awful.
That would be Tiger Woods.
Take my eyes, but never that, huh?
So when you're wrestling,
yes.
Sometimes you've wrestled, I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've wrestled under a pseudonym.
Yeah,
right?
I've lived my life under a pseudonym. My real name's $50. Listen, I'm gonna stick up for old Corn Pop here.
Okay.
All right?
Let's hear it.
There's no way in hell that he made these emails. Impossible. He also not only stutters when he speaks, he stutters when he types.
But no, this was 8 years ago, though.
He went to the smartest guy he knew to help him with this. And that's why he was using all the wrong emails, Kat, because the smartest guy he knew was taking care of it for him. Unfortunately for him, the smartest guy that he knows is a crackhead. And this is why we all know that. But that's when I want to plan, if I want to do something sneaky and the five of us want to do something want to do a bank robbery, I'd be like, who's here's the smartest? And Kat's like, I am. All right, Kat, you build the emails. I just lift the door and drive. So if we get caught, it'll be because of Kat. So he went to the smartest person he knows, and we know what happened.
Maybe he should have emailed under Corn Pop.
He probably would have had a better shot at explaining it. Because at least he could say, listen, at the time, I had window shield car cancer oil.
Sometimes I use fake names and things if I want to, like you said, well, he wouldn't be doing anything sneaky. He wouldn't need these fake names. Well, I downloaded the Barbie movie.
And you were doing something sneaky.
Yeah. I had to use a fake name. And so, that's the reason to cover your tracks. Sometimes you got to do something. You don't want your name on it. But now here I did it on TV, so now you know I saw the Barbie movie.
You know what? Once you get on here, everything's
out.
It's an open book. We will know you inside and out for sure. Up next, Eminem's feud with a GOP dude.
Mock it and move on.
Yep, it's mock it and move on. First up, and Eminem has sent GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy a cease and desist letter to immediately stop using his song Lose Yourself at campaign events. You might remember Vivek went viral earlier this month for rapping the 2002 hit at the Iowa State Fair. In case you forgot or you missed it, here it is.
He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity, oh, there goes gravity. Choke, he's so mad, but he won't give up that.
His campaign says they'll comply with Eminem's request, and Vivek took it all in stride, posting on X, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? He didn't just say what I think he did he? And, of course, that's another reference to an Eminem song. You're dying over here. You can't take it.
Listen, this is why karaoke is supposed to be in a dark bar. It's not. Like everyone thinks they're a star. Everyone thinks they're a comedian and a singer and apparently a presidential candidate now. So don't do that. And if I was Eminem, I'd be like, stop. You're ruining everything I worked for. Like he was. If it was an animal, we would have had him arrested for butchering in public. Like, it was awful. He wasn't just singing his song. He was doing movements that made me think that he has maybe some aging stuff going on. Like, he's guys
I didn't think it was that bad.
He was awful. He was awful. One usually has to go to an old folks home to find somebody moving like that, and they're possessed by a devil, and there's an exorcist trying to stop him. Vivek is the kid whose parents paid for all the trips, so you all want to go because the car is cool and you get the Twicket pass at Magic Mountain, but nobody likes him. But we all have to pretend to like him so we can go get the cool party. Eminem just said, yo party.
I think it's kind of endearing, honestly.
Okay.
He doesn't take himself too seriously. He's not all buttoned up. He's actually in touch with music from this century, which you probably can't say about most of the other presidential candidates. So, look, I think it's good. He doesn't take
it often happens, especially to Republican candidates. They'll try to use a song, and they want to be hip, and then they'll get hit with one of these things. However, it could be good for media, right? Because he's been dealing with a lot of incoming, especially on things on foreign policy, and this is a great way to change the subject.
You'd rather have them talking about this than his crazy comments about 9/11.
Yeah,
right?
That would probably be good.
I think the real story here is this is the first time in history a brown man has gotten in trouble for using a white man's rap. I mean, this is progress. This is what the young people call equity.
Kat, are you a big Eminem fan?
I am.
Of course.
Of course I am. If Eminem ever, he's handling this well. If Eminem ever gave me a cease and desist, I would cry myself to sleep. I would not be able to get over it.
I
would not be able to get over it
either, to be honest.
No, but I wouldn't even be able to handle it well publicly. I would have a very public meltdown.
Next up, there's this University of California Riverside professor resigning amid a controversy surrounding her supposed Native American heritage. For the past several years, Andrea Smith was accused of falsely claiming to be Cherokee. Remind you of anyone? Yeah. Well, now, after several colleagues complained, she's resigning, but it's a cushy agreement that allows her to avoid investigation, keep her position through August of next year, and hold on to her retirement benefits and honorary emeritus title. Brad, you love this story. Why?
I love it because this is important progress. Trans Native American lives matter. The representation has not been there. We only have one at the highest levels of our society. That's Elizabeth Warren. I think she shouldn't have been fired. I think she should have been promoted because we do not have representation for this community. No, seriously. I mean, how can you really, in the progressive worldview, say she did anything wrong? If you can identify as whatever you want, if words have no meaning, if nothing's set in stone, this is kind of the logical next conclusion. So, of course, it's absurd. Of course, it's offensive.
Jeff, why do they always go after Cherokee?
I don't know much about it, but how come the fake Indian gets to keep working, but the real Indian can't even do karaoke? Seems unfair. Seems strange.
It gives you something to think about.
Yeah.
It really gives you something to think about.
But she is hot, I'll give her that.
What?
That's the joke.
You know what she needs to do? And I don't know you, ma'am, but if you're watching, here's what you need to do. You need to publicly call out Elizabeth Warren to have your back on this. Because it is completely that Elizabeth Warren did the same thing, and she's at that, like you said, the highest levels of government. Be like, hey girl, can you have my back here? Just one tweet and have Elizabeth be like, I could see how this might happen. Yes. Yeah. Or this happens to a lot of us.
Or maybe Tyrus should call Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah.
Or send me a smoke signal, something to help me out. I don't understand what everyone's upset about. I have been fired, and I have never been. You are fired in a year and a half. You will keep your pay. You will get your retirement benefit. That's not a firing. That's a promotion. She don't have to go to work. She gets her checks, and in a year and a half, she can retire. Sign me up. Take me to your leader. How?
How? If it were a conservative professor, how would this have turned out?
Oh, well, I don't think they would have hired the conservative professor in the first place, if we're being honest. But of course not. There's a total double standard on these issues.
All right.
You would have to circle the wagons.
She's not really, like, what's less than canceled? That's what, she got a real soft cancel. Which is like
No, there's no cancel.
Yeah?
She got put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Cancel me like that, I'll get canceled every week.
It was on a totem pole.
There you go, of motion.
I was trying to find my
did it.
Indian Native American reference. All right, up next, we kick it up a notch with critters you gotta watch. Circle the wagon. Circle the wagons.
If you love all the birds and trees, all the fishes in the seas, if you think videos of pets is as good as it gets, this segment is for you. We hope your furry dreams come true. It's time to celebrate Greg's animal friends. Celebrate Greg's animal friends!
Yes, it's time for Greg's Animal Friends, because he's not here. Doesn't mean we can't have some fun showcasing furry friends, too. Okay, Kat, what do you got?
Oh, yes. All right, I don't want to ruin it, because there's no way to explain this. You just have to see it. So let's roll the tape. All right, see, horses. Mm-hmm. And then there's also people dressed as horses. Living out their horse dreams. Now, some people might have a problem with this. I think it's great. Because you know what? That took a lot of, like, passion, and there was many steps that occurred before you're actually out there dressed as a horse with the horses. Like, you have to make the costume, you have to, like, find a guy with horses who's cool with it. And that requires a lot of passion and dedication. And a lot of people might think that's weird, but guess what? These people don't care. Because they're that happy. And
they're identifying as horses.
I don't know. We should all strive
to
be this happy and dedicated to something. Like, I love my husband, but I don't know if I'm as dedicated to him as these people are to their horse dream. They've definitely done more paperwork.
I know a guy in Enumclaw, Washington, who did something similar to this, and it didn't work out too good.
This didn't work out good either, because that horse thinks it's mating season.
Yeah.
So he's kicking the leg, and the guy in the back said, my turn to be in the front. Like, no, you're good. Like, no, seriously, this one means he's not stopping. Look.
Mr. Hands.
He's kicking back like no means no. No means no.
Yeah.
I wonder how long do they do this for? Is it an hour? Is it 5 hours?
Every day.
And did they pay for the privilege?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
Well, they didn't pay for the costume, because that was a blanket.
That's a pretty terrible costume.
Like, if you're going to do it right. That was half-assery.
Yes. All right, Jeff, what do you got?
I brought in a nice little thing. I'm a big sports fan, but if you watch sports, you realize that America's falling behind, even in sports a little bit. Baseball, the best players are Dominican, Venezuelan, Mexican. It's all over, you know, in every sport you find. But I have got something to present to you, something where we can take back sports in the USA. Roll it. Snake hunting. Watch this guy. Great technique. Gripping the head. It's dangerous, sure, but finally, I'll be good at something.
You could do that?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot. We start a minor league system. We work our way up.
Oh, how'd that work out for the crocodile guy?
Well, you know, he's part of one of the forefathers of these kind of white sports.
You probably have one of these snakes, Tyrus.
Yeah, I do. This is funny. This makes me laugh. That looks like a pet that somebody decided to, because no one with any right mind leans on all muscle. A snake is basically one long arm of muscle. And he just rolled in, like, get on me. The snake's like, I haven't eaten in a month, bro. Just give me some water and put me back in my cage. We caught him live. And listen, don't talk about the crocodile hunter that way, okay? I'm still a little suspicious about his death. The stingray, and his best friend was filming it, and then all of a sudden he died, and then he married his wife.
Just asking questions.
Just asking questions.
Those are good questions. What about your video? Do you got a video?
Actually, I don't have video. I have photos, and I have some new additions to my zoo.
Okay.
And since we have a tiny host, I will show up some of my tiny new additions.
Okay.
Now,
compared to...
Those are my yellow tree monitors. And they decided to get together. That's my Dana Perino. That gecko is the size of a quarter. They're little tiny ones, and they come in crazy. That's the male. He's blue. And you can slow it down because we're trying to drag this segment out in the back. So, and that's my, whoever's back there clicking it, relax, kid. Now, these are Mata turtles, and what's so awesome about them, and that one's eating fish. Now we're going to the back. Okay, is Gutfeld here? So, but this little hey. Whoever's doing this is going to be in my cage. Go to the little tiny Dana Perino gecko.
I don't think they know what a gecko is.
Okay, if you don't, you're racist. Thank you.
I want to be racist.
That worked.
Black and smart. This little tiny Dana right here, just like Dana, has bright yellow hair, which is questionable whether it's natural or not. And then they're called little day geckos, and they come out and they sit on your windowsill all day. And I have about 50 of them, and I just let them loose. Because if you have a bug problem, instead of using spray, put these little guys, and they're amazing and they're awesome. Just don't have a cat.
Yeah.
I have a Mancoon cat, and the cat was like, "Thanks."
Thank you very much. And then that was like a snack.
Yeah.
Now I have a gecko problem. I got rid of all the flies.
I have a gecko problem.
50 geckos.
Brad.
All right, so this is a Canadian pig, and he stands up to this black bear. All the other farm animals run away like scared little chickens. This Canadian pig says, "Not in my house," and scares off the black bear. So my message to America is just find somebody who's got your back like that pig's got the back of the rest of the farm, because that's some courage right there to front up a bear and
Let's
be
ask
like,
our
"You back
zoologist
down."
about this. Okay, so Tyrus, our bear
That
scared of pigs.
racist-ass pig said, he said a racial epithet. The bear said, "Oh my, how dare you?" And he left. That's what that is. I came here to forage and make friends, and the pig's like, "We don't want your kind here, darky."
No.
And he left.
Tyrus.
And it's always a pig-headed person who ruins a party. It's always the pig in the room that ruins the party. And because pigs are different than everybody else. You know why? Because they go all into everything. They always go too far. The chicken lays the eggs. Pigs give bacon. That means the chicken goes in it a little bit, contributes, and the pig has to go all out. And she had to go all out and ruin the party. It was probably the bear's surprise birthday party, and she ruined it.
I think you should give tours at the zoo.
And tell the stories that went along with it. Up next, taking lots of breaks leads to more birthday cakes.
A story in 5 words.
A story in 5 words. Being lazy? Good for you. Okay, let's take this around. So here's the thing, Kat. So people who live to be past 100, or they're called super agers, they live in these places called blue zones. And that's like Greece and Sardinia, where everything's beautiful and lovely and the food is terrific. But their main thing is getting rest is a way of life. So does that mean that being lazy can actually prolong life?
These people must not have the thoughts. You know, like
thoughts?
when you're sitting there doing nothing, you just think about stuff you did and how it was wrong and like how you should have done something different. Plus, if you're 100, there's probably a lot of that stuff, I would think. Like, how can you just sit there and chill? Especially like, I don't know, I'd be like, okay, I have to figure out a way to live longer, or I have to figure out a way to like find my way into an afterlife or something like that. It's not time to chill, it's time to grind.
Yeah, to really think it through. And so, Jeff, these folks live longer. They also spend more time with loved ones. Yeah. They feel a sense of purpose, and they keep stress in check. Is that even possible?
Well, I mean, I read the article and it was like, the guy spent 20 years researching just to find out laying by the beach and relaxing is good for you. It's like, yeah. I didn't know you could have a theory based on things this obvious. I have a theory that if you breathe longer, you'll live longer. And I'm taking credit for that, and you have to reference my studies on that.
And you should get paid for a study like that.
Old people they're happy, and I get it. I don't think they're going to want to grind. It's not the time, they're good here. I have a theory that God only lets us live to be like 80 to 100 because you wouldn't like the world if you could make it past that. Like my grandpa was like a psycho, but like if he was alive now, could you imagine him? He'd be like, what the heck is going on? Like the whole world. He died in 1992. If he saw it now, he'd be like, what? They're cutting their off. Like he'd go crazy.
Brad, are you lazy at all?
No, but look, so I think the nugget in this article was that these people live in like rural Spain or even rural California where they walk everywhere. They don't drive. And so they get that casual exercise. And I think, it's offensive to say it now. Being really overweight is not great for you. And exercise kind of helps with that.
So they're getting their steps in.
They're getting their steps in, exactly. And it's like, whereas in lots of parts of America, they'll be like, well, being fat just runs in my family. Like, no,
Nothing
Susan,
runs in your family.
Nothing runs in your family, and that is the problem.
I was at the airport. Over the weekend, and I heard this guy, he was a giant man, and he was on the phone, and he was like, yeah, I'm getting my steps in, walking around the airport. He was eating a bucket of Auntie Anne's pretzels.
I mean, but if you're at the airport, you got to get the Aunt. Pretty good.
Listen, I don't know why we're giving these people praise.
Why?
Because it doesn't say couples. It says them. And their loved ones die because they suck the life out of their loved ones. Because they're boring as hell. They take forever to do anything. They could literally drive to the store and get the milk, but no, they have to walk for 4 hours while you wait on them. Then you got to go get them. Then they come back from the store and they say, oh, you wanted milk? Okay, I'll go back. No, I'll do it myself. And then you do it, and then you get in a car accident and die because you're so upset. They're life suckers. Do not praise these evil people. Do you see a man in that situation? No. No.
Tyrus, now that you are retiring from pro wrestling, do you have time to be lazy? Can you be a little bit more lazy now?
I have successfully been lazy my entire life, Dana.
That's not true.
It's a point of pride. My favorite thing to do is to go outside and sit in the sun and not move. That's my favorite thing to do. I just like to sit there in the sun, and my kids would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm enjoying the sun, so I don't murder you." Like I just need, like you have to have that moment, that Zen moment. So I'm clever. I find ways.
Do you think Greg is being lazy this week?
I think he's probably trying, but he's probably like, ugh.
I heard from a little bird that he keeps texting in, like, here's an idea.
I got 47 of them here right now.
I heard Greg's working remote while he's off work.
Yeah.
My favorite thing he's doing right now is he's texting me like, I love being alone. And I go, okay.
Well, we miss him anyway. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, final thoughts now. Jeff.
Oh, the final thoughts. I thought I'd do a shameless plug of my comedy club.
I love shameless plugs.
All right, perfect. Go August 31st, I'm at Well Comedy Club in Bakersfield. September 6th to 9th, I'm in Alaska in Fairbanks. And September 20th, I'm Brea Improv. JeffDye.com for all my other tour dates. Thank you for having me. You did great today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks to Jeff Dye, Brad Polumbo, Kat Timpf, Tyrus, our amazing studio audience. Fox News at Night with Trace Gallagher is next. On behalf of Gutfeld, I'm Dana Perino, and I love you, America.